Today I want to talk to you about the 5 mental thrashing phases that I go through when I network. That's right, I'm at a conference, I still have to network. You might think that it's easy. You know, if you're used to talking in front of a video like this or you're used to speaking on stage, networking is easy. It's not true, it's always difficult. And there's these 5 phases that I always go through when I go to a new conference or a networking event. I'm guessing I'm not the only one. I've talked to a lot of you, and I know that you likely go through them too. The first one is simply posturing. So posturing, have you heard that phrase before? What it means is that you're standing a bit taller, you're puffing yourself up either mentally or physically, and you're trying to, in one sense, put your best foot forward. You're meeting, hundreds, and in this case, thousands of new people are seeing you for the first time. So there's this the sense that you need to pretend to be something that you're not. And this is always the first phase that I have to go through. And you have to have a lot of self-awareness, a lot of professional awareness to know that this is happening. Okay, so posturing. So when you walk in and you're acting like, maybe better than you're actually feeling, not being happy or open, that's good. That's the place you want to end up at. But when you're just kind of like puffing yourself up mentally to prepare for the people you're going to interact with. And what it's really rooted in is in competition. And as PhDs, whether you know it or not, we're competitive, but in a healthy way. And I know this because I've seen a lot of you learn how to negotiate and you become very competitive. But that posturing is caused by natural competitiveness. You're seeing a lot of people going to the same conference and maybe you feel the need to kind of compete intellectually or show them that you're just as good as them, as good as the other person, etc. It's natural. Just realize what's happening. Don't beat yourself up for it. Just don't stay in that phase. Now, people who don't know what's happening, they go from posturing to 1 or 2 areas. And sometimes, if you're like me, you'll thrash back and forth between these 2 areas until you realize what's happening. And the next 2 areas are arrogance and insecurity, right? We hate feeling insecure, but very often we feel a sense of imposter syndrome when we go to conferences, especially if you start looking for an industry job. You've never worked in industry, you don't have any experience in industry, so you're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be there, you're going to feel like a fish out of water. Have you ever seen what a fish does out of water? It thrashes back and forth. And so you're going to thrash back and forth from being insecure to being a little bit arrogant, right? So you'll try to counterbalance your insecurity because it doesn't feel good with thinking that you're possibly better than people. You're trying to find ways or convince yourself of how you're better than these people. You'll see people speak on stage, right? If you're going to a networking event where there's speakers or somebody you're talking to, and you'll start thinking about how you're better than them or you already know this. And you'll start putting up a lot of walls to protect you from your own insecurity. And you don't want to let yourself get caught in either one of those. If you feel a little bit insecure, that's okay. It's not really insecurity, it's just you have things to learn. Turn your insecurity into interest. If you notice yourself putting up walls and being a little bit arrogant, or starting to think of how you're better than somebody else, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Start to think about what you could learn from somebody else, because everybody has a different, unique experience. No matter who you're talking to, there's something you can learn from them, okay? And then people who go through these phases, certainly me, if you haven't realized what phase you're in yet, you'll keep going forward, and then you'll end up in one of the 2 final categories, and you'll likely thrash back and forth between these 2. And this is usually where I'm at the end of the first day as I'm working through these phases. Defensiveness and desperation. Okay, neither one are attractive, right? So if you're defensive, you're worried about what other people might be talking to you for. Like, why are they interested in me? What do they want from me? You'll be worried about people that are speaking on stage. You'll be like, well, what are they selling? What's in it for them? Right? We've all been there. And guess what? Everybody has something that's in it for them. That's why every interaction, every networking exchange that you have, it's a situation where you should be trading value, right? That's why you want to add value to somebody. And that's what you're going to want eventually from somebody, is them to add value back to you. That's how you build a relationship. It's okay, but don't be defensive. Because when you're defensive, you put up the walls and you keep yourself from having a meaningful interaction with anybody at a networking event. The other D is desperation. Right now, let's say you need a job really bad. If you go to a networking event, you're going to come across as desperate if you're asking people to help you or if they know of any job opportunities. If you're focused on what's in it for them, you're going to be defensive. If you're focused on what's in it for you, you're going to come across as desperate. You don't want to get stuck in either of those. The biggest thing here is to be gentle on yourself. If you have these feelings when you're networking, right, you get a little bit, you feel a little bit insecure. You notice your posturing, right? You're putting up walls and focusing on how you're better than somebody to make yourself feel better. You get a little bit defensive. You're a little bit desperate. Take a deep breath, relax, okay? Change your mental state. You can change your physical state, which will help a lot. Smiling more, being more open, less closed off, and focus on just opening up the idea of what if, right? Just keep asking yourself, what if there's something I can learn from this person? What if this person really wants to help me? What if this is the connection that I need to get hired, right? So just keep asking, telling yourself, what if? Get into a what if state of mind. This is what I do, and it really helps me. And be open, right? And talk to people just to learn about them, right? Don't see people as a means to an end. Don't see them as competition. Don't see an interaction as something where you got to prove yourself or talk or say the right thing. Just be truly interested. Ask people questions. Learn from them. All of them have ideas. Everyone has something they can teach you that will help you get you to where you want to go. So hopefully this helps you. If you've experienced any of these 5 phases, I would love to hear from you in a comment below, so I know that I'm not the only one who's experienced them. And I'd love to hear any tips or strategies you apply to get yourself into that open state faster.